Black power, y'all. We on time. Everybody jump in the room. Black power cover. What's happening? Black power DP. The GOAT. How y'all feeling?
Are you connected to the Wi-Fi and all that?
Yep. Black power Karina. We getting into HBO's The Watchmen. Or Watchmen. I forget which one it is. 6 people. 7 people. We gonna jump into it when we get 10 people. Let's go. Come on, everybody jump in the room. Let's get it.
What number propaganda is this?
Probably number 5. Seven people, 6 people. All right, what time is it?
Tell them about what's happening with Black Hammer.
I mean, I want there to be more people, but okay, we gonna get into it. Black power, y'all. My name is Comrade Rob, and you're watching Proper-gander. It is a show produced by Black Hammer. We are an organization of young African and indigenous revolutionaries bent on liberating our people from the shackles of colonialism and capitalism. We made this show because we understand that no matter in what facet of our lives we are exposed to imperialist propagandas that endow us with capitalist values and just pretty much ideas that are conducive to the oppression of Black and brown people. So that being said, this episode is going to focus on the new HBO series called The Watchmen. It's based on one of my favorite comic books growing up. I'm not even going to lie. Yeah, I loved that comic book growing up. Super critical of superheroes, and it's even more poignant now, but now they're making a spin-off of it, or not a spin-off, but an actual sequel of it on HBO. And the reason why I thought of doing this is because actually a lot of people canceled their HBO subscription after watching this show, and we'll definitely get into why that is. And it's really not hard to figure out if you've seen the first 5 minutes of it. So let's get into it. Watchmen, I'm gonna do a short summary just right off of Wikipedia. You know what I'm saying? Give y'all a short rundown of what it's about. So if anyone's hasn't watched it or whatever, they'll at least have a rundown. Okay, so Watchmen takes place in an alternative reality. 34 years after the events of the comic series, vigilantes, once seen as heroes, have been outlawed due to their violent methods. In 1985, Adrian Veidt, formerly known as the vigilante Ozymandias, created a fake attack on New York City by a squid-like alien. This comic book is crazy. That resulted in millions being killed. Coercing nations to work together against a common threat, the squid, to avoid a nuclear holocaust. Veidt's action disgusted his former companions, the Watchmen, with Rorschach planning to tell the world of Veidt's misdeeds before he is vaporized by Dr.Manhattan. That's that big blue guy that always has his penis out. Dr. Manhattan subsequently left the planet, unaware Rorschach has sent his journal to be published beforehand. The show takes place in 2019 Tulsa, Oklahoma. If you know anything about Tulsa, you already know about the history about that area that they're touching on and why white people would be very uncomfortable. In 2019, a white supremacy group known as the Seventh Cavalry has misappropriated misappropriated Rorschach's writings and mask image to wage violent war against minorities and the police that enforce special reparations for victims of racial justice. On Christmas Eve 2016, during an event that came to be known as the White Night, the cavalry attacked the homes of 40 Tulsa police officers. So the white supremacist group attacked the pigs. And subsequently, the pigs now wear masks to hide their identity from the crackers. From the white supremacists. Either or. Take your pick. As the police force was rebuilt, laws were passed to require police not to disclose their professions and allowed for mass vigilantes to work alongside the officers fighting the cavalry. Black power, comrades. So, this show is a liberal critique of the police and a liberal critique of the status of white nationalism as we know it now in 2019. Simply put, I've done some research in terms of the director's politics. His name is Damon Lindelof. He is a white Jewish man and is famous for writing on Lost, and he is very liberal in his politics. Like, his idea of progression is representation of POCs, what Black Hammer understands to be colonized, oppressed nationalities, and the inclusion of women characters, which explains why he chose Regina King to be the superhero in this story. Because Regina King, awfully talented, love her work. She's playing pretty much a cop. You know what I'm saying? And in his mind, he's like empowering people. So the first episode starts off with the Tulsa race riot, and full disclosure, I'm not here to explain my review or how I felt about the show. I'm gonna say real quick that I do like the show. It's like a fun show, but I do understand it as pro-cop propaganda. And people have been applauding this show for being kind of like, for touching on matters that make white people uncomfortable, when the reality is they still misconstrue historical events to fit the white nationalist narrative, the colonial narrative, I should say. And the big thing that got people upset was the Tulsa race riot representation. 5 minutes into the first episode, you pretty much get a pretty graphic view of what was once known as Black Wall Street being destroyed by a mob of angry white people. In the show, they do well to show Klansmen on their horses with the rifle. Trigger warning. Dragging black bodies, shooting African people in the streets. It's all kind of torture porny and kind of disgusting that like they're much more inclined to show black bodies being violently attacked like that, but they'll show like white people getting beaten off screen. Like, they won't show the actual beating of that, which is indicative of their bias. But back to Tulsa, the way they frame Tulsa, they make sure that there's white people in their KKK garbs, right? It's KKK members on their horses doing all these terrible things. And in later episodes, when they refer to that time, they reference it as an attack of the KKK attacking Black Wall Street. That is not the reality of it. The reality of Tulsa was a mob of angry, regular, schmegular ass white people got up in arms and destroyed, I believe they killed 300 African people and injured about 1,000 or so. It was just regular schmegular black people, but the way the white nationalist narrative has to tell it, it's like, oh, it's not all white people, it's this crazy sect of white people. It's like not like not every white person was like that. It's just the KKK, and now it's the 7K, the Seventh Cavalry, which is like a new incarnation of white supremacy. So it's incorrect framing, and people have to be really diligent in understanding that people, like, just generally growing up in a colonial imperialist heart, people pretty much like get their history from school, and then they never study history again. Like, they'll get their understanding of history from movies. I've explained it on the show before, that people think of the 1800s and they think of the Old West, which is not a real representation of how those times are. So in the same light, they're trying to portray this time, 1921, as like a blemish, like a mistake of the U.S. being like, this is the KKK responsible for being that, when really the police was involved, white business owner was involved, and the National Guard was involved. Not a good look. Yeah. They show the new incarnation of the KKK, aka the 7th Cavalry. They make them use language like, "Oh, we finna flood the streets with liberal tears," and they do shit like that. And obviously, that's an homage or a inclination to represent the new modern alt-right. You know what I'm saying? I at least in my understanding of it, is that they're showing how America used to be, you know what I'm saying? There used to be like the KKK, and then they thought that they got rid of that, and now the new KKK is out, which is the 7th Cavalry, which parallels our reality, where you thought that shit was over, but now you have the alt-right coming in. But the main mistake that most of these movies make is that they pit the police against the white supremacists, which is false. I touched on it in the summary that there is an instance in the canon of the show where it's called the White Knight. What happened on the White Knight is the 7th Cavalry came up and attacked every pig, all the police in their homes. They ran up in their homes and shot them up. You know what I'm saying? And they pit the police versus the white supremacist groups, when that is never how it happened. White supremacist groups more than often are only critical of police if they're not even more brutal to black and brown bodies. They are usually highly respecting of the police, and even more, a lot of police are Klansmen, which they do touch on that, but here's where they get you. You know what I'm saying? They're making it seem like the police is the only thing stopping the white supremacist organizations from doing what they want, when really white supremacist organizations are enabled by the police more often than not. Even certain contemporary factions of the alt-right count on police to overlook their violence, because they'll beat on black people, brown people, or communists, and they know that the police has their same bias. Y'all with me so far? Let me know if y'all with me. All right. Black Power can. So yeah, this is obviously a liberal understanding of current events. All the superhero movies are reflecting of, or all movies in general are reflecting of our culture as it is at that day. You know what I'm saying? You can tell a lot about our cultures and its values through their movies and their TV shows, right? So this TV show, Watchmen, aims to be subversive. It aims to be a like not your average superhero story. You know what I'm saying? It aims to be like the alternative. when really it just represents the more quote unquote liberal stance of the white ruling class, the liberal ideology of the white ruling class. So there's that. And there's a lot of criticisms in there of PC culture. There's a scene right after the Tulsa massacre where it's a black cop, of course, because they need cops to be black to show that, like, you can be an oppressor too. Like, cops aren't racist, they hire black people, when really all cops serve white supremacy. So there's a cop who pulls over one of those, like a white person. He suspects them to be a 7th Cavalry member, and he thinks that his life is in danger. And so in this universe, the cop, in order to use their gun, has to call their base and then ask for permission to unlock their gun so they can shoot their weapon. That's obviously a commentary on the laws passed on cops, because cops kill black people left and right because they serve white supremacy, like I said before. But because he has to call his base, he gets shot up by the white person, right? So it shows that it makes it seem like people wanting to hold cops responsible or accountable for all the crap that they do makes their job harder. It makes it harder for them to be safe. Which, again, like, there's like 100 jobs that are way more dangerous than being a cop. The idea that being a cop is dangerous is just Hollywood propaganda. Because in Hollywood, cops like run up to the gang members. Gang members got like AK-47s. They got like 60 people deep, and it'd be like 5 cops. They'd be like, we need backup. So like people think that like being cops is like that, when really cops like get like calls and shoot people's dogs and shit, like sneak into people's houses, shoot their dogs, and arrest them for having an eighth on them. Like, that's way more likely. If you ever seen a cop, if you live in the real world and you see a cop, you know that they're in like this Terminator 2 ass vehicle, decked up like from their body all the way down, from weapons and body armor. Like, there's nothing more that you could do to make a cop more fucking safe that it isn't like 100% like fascist shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this show makes it seem like cops like protect you. Hold up. Like, cops aren't there to protect nobody except the white ruling class, except property. You get what I'm saying? It's a lie that they serve and protect the people. The Black Panthers served and protected the people. You know what I'm saying? Mao Zedong, in his time, he served and protected the people. The cops in America serve and protect white supremacy. That's why you could see all the things that we be seeing here in 2019. But yeah. Anyone seen the show? Valencia says, the police is white supremacy. They are the enforcers of white supremacy. Right. And in this show, they make it seem like the only kind of white supremacy is the kind of the Klansmen, or is the kind of the alt-right, where they're like doing like Hitler shit and like wearing this kind of clothes. Otherwise, people don't understand that as white supremacy. When really, white supremacy is the cops. White supremacy is... It's ridiculous. And this kind of theme is not... It's not... I'm losing connection, apparently. Yeah, this is a very normal talking point or a very normal like plot point to have. Like, I don't know if y'all ever seen The Black Klansman, but that's like about a real life cop who infiltrated the KKK and like arrested somebody, you know what I'm saying? And it makes it seem like, yeah, like the cops are against the KKK, which no, the KKK to this day is functional. But you know who isn't functional? The Black Panthers, Marcus Garvey, like organization, any organization that is truly for the liberation of black and brown people, of African and indigenous people, they are dismantled by the cops. But how is it that you can't dismantle a bunch of rednecks in the woods burning crosses? How's that? How does that make sense? It's because y'all believe in the same shit. My fault. I shouldn't be cursing. I'm trying to get this boosted. Cherish, Black Power Cherish. She says it is put on the screen to fuck with the masses. Literally. That's exactly what it is. Valencia says, I watched the show too. I like it, but it's got some issues. For sure. I mess with this show. Like I said, I was a big fan of the comic book, and like seeing this universe it's like fun, but I peep that they trying to sell me this kind of agenda that I'm not buying. Like, I'm down for the story, okay? I'm down for a little superhero action, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not buying it. There's also like a narrative. I've watched up to 3 episodes, and for sure I'm gonna have another Proper-gander on it, but because the season's not over, you feel me? So I'm gonna have another Proper-gander updating it probably in the next 2 episodes.
So that leaves some time to catch up.
So that leaves some time for y'all to catch up for sure. And at this point, I can only make some predictions of what they're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Like who's that dude in the wheelchair? You feel me? Like he was the little boy who lived during Tulsa. I personally think that he's gonna be like Killmonger, where if y'all ever seen the Black Panthers, like Killmonger is the bad guy, but he literally has good politics. Like, he literally wants to liberate Africa and give back the resources that white people stole. But he's the bad guy. How? He overthrew a king. How was that bad? He didn't even do it like on some fuck shit. Like, he threw hands with him like honorably and beat him. But I think it's something similar like that. Like, I think that old man who hung the cop. Oh yeah, we gotta talk about that. He hung the cop, right? And he's sitting there and just like, yeah, I did it, on the wheelchair and shit. And like, people are just like, how do you do that, bro? I loved it. You know what I'm saying? But I think that he might have like a real cool politic. You know what I'm saying? Or a politic that I unite with. But he's going to be like portrayed as the bad guy or something like that. But I'm just guessing. I'm going to see. But yeah, people are really upset that there was a cop in there. I forget the cop's name. It's because I don't respect them. That's why. But the cop was a KKK member, and I'm sure like people will get thrown off by that. But the cop was a KKK member, and this old black man in a chair like lynched his ass, which is dope. But people. Like, I've seen on the Instagram page, I hope you watching, Instagram guy, because he was saying that it's gonna be anti-cop by the end of the series. I'm just like, no way, bro. How can you be anti-cop? Like, how can you be in a liberal, like, produced by liberalism, produced by white supremacy? HBO is a capitalist company, you know what I'm saying? How can you be produced by a company like that of liberalism and produce a radical piece of artwork? Like, no, there's too many capitalist hands that be on the art. Like, there's no way they can produce that. The only thing that they can do is make it seem like yeah, there's a couple bad apples on the forest. That's what they say on the news. It's like, yeah, man, it's a couple bad apples over here shooting children in their sleep. It's a couple bad apples. You know what I'm saying? Like throwing people in a van and then like riding around so they like break their neck and stuff. It's just a couple bad apples. There has to be that narrative when the reality is that the entirety of the police force is just the arm of white supremacy. It's how they get you. The white supremacist capitalist colonialist dogs make a law to put black people in jail, to keep native people from their land, their indigenous land. You know what I'm saying? And the cops enforce it. That's their job. They put their hands on you and pretty much whip you. Keep you on the fucking plantation. My fault. I'm really trying not to curse. So, let's see, what other points I made? There is a really strange character that I don't understand why is there. Their name is Red Scare, and he's like a communist superhero. Like, I guess since in the comic book, the Soviet Union and America stopped beefing because of what happened in the comic book. So I guess like open communists are on the police force, which figure that out. But yeah, I think it's all a commentary of also the rising left of America. You know what I'm saying? That like people are like the youth are more inclined to listen to like socialism and things of that nature. That's why they have them on the force. You know what I mean? I think it's to appeal to a certain crowd. Because, like, really, like, they just selling you that shit. They're just like, oh, you want POC characters? Here you go. You want women lead? Here you go. But I will say that I think it's real funny that, like they had him round up a whole bunch of white people. Like, after the cop got lynched, he went to like this like trailer park where it was like a bunch of broke ass white people, and he pretty much like rounded them up. He was just like, get them, you know what I'm saying? So I think that they're associating authoritarianism with communism, you know what I'm saying? Which is a typical tactic, propaganda tactic since the Cold War, you know what I'm saying? To associate authoritarianism with communism, when if you really look at any communist country or whatever, they have democratic establishments that function from your workplace to the state. Like, some of the best examples of democracy on the planet have always been socialist or socialist projects. Like, stop playing. That's what I think that he kind of served. Or like, maybe he's just like a joke character, but I know that they did that on purpose, where he's like doing like what white people call like fascist shit. Like, he has like his police and he's just rounding people up. They just chilling, smoking meth. It's just a trailer park, so I just assume that they smoking meth. So yeah. What else? What else were my points? So this show also talks about reparations in a kind of way. And obviously the white supremacist establishment has been talking about reparations for a while, right? If you know anything about reparations started as a revolutionary demand from oppressed Africans in America. They wanted the fruits of their labor, you know what I'm saying, that rightfully belonged to them, and created this economy, and they wanted to be reimbursed for it retroactively. The reality is, though, that the amount of reparations you would have to pay to African people would collapse the economy. Like, there's no way you can repay that. Like, how are you going to repay, like, 500 years of just the most brutal, indescribable atrocities? Like, I'm not saying that that African people shouldn't get reparations, but what I'm saying is the way that they're talking about it now, the establishment speaks about it, is because African people in America are waking up to that bullshit. They're seeing how the pigs move. They're seeing that every president is the same. You know what I'm saying? So they're pushing reparations as a way to chill the masses out. They're like, oh, well, we got you reparations. It's progress happening. So obviously this show is talking about that. However, I think it's something really strange, and I don't know where it comes from, because I've seen the director's politics, I've seen his sources, I've seen some of the books he read, but his kind of reparations have to do with lineage. Like, if in their world you go to this like government place, and they have like this little machine that like takes your DNA and figures out if you're from Tulsa, where those things happen. And it traces your lineage to see if you're entitled to reparations. They call it redferations.
On some ADOS shit.
On some ADOS shit. That's what I'm saying. Thank you, Gigi, in the background. That's how I feel. That like the way that they tie it into lineage, like, is very, very. It seems like some foundational Black American type stuff, which as a member of Black Hammer, as someone that subscribes to the Pan-African idea of like, we are all African people, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way that you can say like, oh yeah, this person here lives in America, they should get reparations or whatever, because America still exploits and takes the resources of and absolutely destroys and is all over Africa. So you telling me that like y'all don't owe Africa reparations? Y'all telling me that y'all don't owe motherfuckers in the Caribbean, where I'm from, reparations, even though you've been bombing my island, even though you've been enslaving my people to make them like make coffee for your ass, and you don't owe us reparations too? That shit don't make no sense. So that's the problem with that ideology, and I think that there's some sort of bogus happening where they tie reparations to lineage, and I don't know why, but I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna do some research, because I don't know where that comes from. Like, I read he said that he was inspired to write about reparations because he read this article or whatever, but I read that article and that dude like loves Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't say it just for Americans. Don't know. Speaking of colonialism, there's a lot to cover because I'm 3 episodes in, y'all. So bear with me. In this world, you'll see that the American flag is like a circle with stars on it with red stripes coming out of it. And that's because America has been colonizing more. Not that it isn't in this timeline either. But in this world or whatever, Vietnam is like the 51st state or the 52nd state. Again, don't know how many states there are. Don't respect America. Yeah, I just think it's funny that they were to be able to make like a commentary like that, like, oh, this is a state now, because people make it seem like, oh yeah, being a state is like awesome, like everybody should want to be a state, like Puerto Rico is a colony of the U.S. People are like, let's make it a state. That'll make it better. When it's like, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, like, Michigan is a state. They don't got water in Flint. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can go down the road to Paramore in the hood, that's a state. They barely got houses over there. Like, it don't matter. And it's crazy that they make a commentary like that, and you see the kind of violence. Like, if you read the comic book or if you watched the movie from Zack Snyder, like, it took a lot of violence for them motherfuckers to, like, colonize Vietnam, bro. Like, he would, like, rip people apart and all that stuff. It just goes to show, like, how y'all gonna skip over all that violence, bro? In this one, they're just like, yeah, Vietnam is the 51st state. I'm just like, bro, don't nobody want to be a state. Y'all did that, like, super violently and coercively. So, I'm seeing not a lot of combo happening. Hopefully, next time, like, watch it on the shady parts of the internet, whatever. But, yeah, I want to facilitate a dialogue about how y'all felt watching this for sure. And make it kind of like a back and forth. I'm thinking that in the future, episodes will, I'll probably pre-record episodes and edit them really dopely so, like, I can just get my point across. But, my last point will be the white feminist line. Yeah, one of the characters is like a badass. Like, her name, I don't remember her actual name. I know she's like the Silk Spectre or whatever, but she's like a badass cop that doesn't play by the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like that character, which is rooted in like a machismo kind of way, but like in their mind, they make it progressive because she's a woman. And she's sexually liberal. You know what I'm saying? She don't take no shit from nobody. But it's clown stuff, bro. Because we all know white women can be just as oppressive, if not more oppressive. Like, Tulsa happened because of white women. That's just facts. Sorry about it. Not sorry. But yeah. That's all I got for this.
In episode 3.
You talking about when they shot? I mean, like that just goes to show. I just don't know where they're taking that. I don't know. But yeah, Black Power, y'all. I'm gonna be in the comments when I put this video up. Hopefully we can get some momentum. Hopefully we can get some dialogue. Hopefully, like, you know what I'm saying, like some people watch it. But I'm gonna just wrap this up. And I want to say to all my comrades, Black Power, like, share. Go to blackhammer.org/sign-up. If you're colonized, if you are brown, if you are black, if you are from Asia, you know what I'm saying? If you was from India, if you was from anywhere that white people took your shit, you are welcome in Black Hammer. If you are white, you could still be on the right side of the question. Just sign up and pay some reparations. Show your support. Be on the right side of the question by doing that. So I will be making another episode about the same show, but I can also make other propaganders about other things. So hit my line, Robert Quinones, or just hit up Black Hammer, slide in the DMs, and let me know what you want me to review. Black Power.